Oh, hello.
Hi, Leonard.
Guess it pulled me into the meeting while I was away. You probably heard my kids complaining about having to get off the Xbox.
I missed that, but it wouldn't be anything new in my life.
Adam, do you think we have all our participants yet?
No, we're still missing a few,
Okay.
including Mark and Lisa.
Okay, I just noticed it was 6:30. I'm using a different device tonight, so I wasn't sure if we even had Mark and Lisa on yet.
Not yet. Oh, here's Lisa.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to start, Adam, do you think?
I think we're missing a couple, but Mark and Lisa are here, so I think we can go ahead and start.
Okay, great. Let's do that. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the June 16th, 2020 Building Committee. I'd like to start this evening by first obviously welcoming all of you, but also just taking a moment to welcome. We have a few new participants this evening. I'd like to welcome our superintendent-to-be, Dr. Cornelia Brown. She's joining us this evening.
Hi, everybody.
As well as, I believe we have another, help me out, Adam, we have another participant here. We also have, who's joining us as well?
We have David Lewis, who's just come on board the project as our owner's rep and technical consultant. So he'll be working very closely with us and with Harriman as we move ahead with the project. So we're very excited to have David. He has many years of excellent experience. So welcome, David.
Awesome. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. I see a few familiar faces. And I like making big buildings.
Well, we've got a good one for you to make. So
Yes. I could say with certainty it's big.
Great. Without further ado, who can we turn this meeting over to get us going?
So I think Lisa's got the show ready to present. Thank you, Karen.
Hi, Mark.
Hello. Great. My colleague's joining us as well.
I do. Let me get it up and running here.
And Albert just texted me, and she's going to be a little bit late, but she'll be here.
Great. Thanks, Pam.
Great. Thanks, Pam.
Aaron, I'm wondering, just for the sake of David and Connie, would it make sense to take a minute and have everyone introduce themselves?
Oh, we sure can. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm on a different device, so to me, there aren't as many of you on here tonight. As right now, it just looks like it's you, me, and just the Harriman Associates. Absolutely. Let me have you do that from your device then, Adam, because I'm not seeing everyone in any type of order or anyone else participants right now.
Sure. I'll just go in the order I see people and ask you to just say hi and introduce yourself. So start with Scott and Anier.
Good evening. I'm Scott Anier. I'm the principal at Edward Little High School.
Brandy.
Hi, I'm Brandy. I'm a science teacher at Edward Little High School.
Karen, we probably know who you are, but just in case.
Karen Matthews, School Committee Chair.
Katie.
Yeah, Katie Gronin, the current superintendent.
Billy.
Hi, I'm Billy Hunter, Director of Support Services.
John.
Hey, I'm John Bausman. I'm one of the community members. I'm a Fairview parent, and then now it's crazy to say I'm an Auburn Middle School parent also.
Leonard.
Hi, I'm Leonard Kimball. I'm also a community member, and I'm a parent of a student at Edward Little and at going to be the middle school.
Tim.
Tim McLeod, Ward 2, City of Auburn, City Council, and I will be a parent of a Park Ave student starting this fall.
Mark.
Mark Lee, an architect with Harriman.
Pam. Pam Hart. I think Pam might be frozen. Pam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, my internet is unstable. I'm Pam Hart. I'm on the school committee, Ward 2. I also have a son who's a junior at Edward Little and a daughter who graduated last year.
Lisa.
Hello, my name is Lisa Salwin. I am an architect and project manager for the Edward Little High School with the Harriman team.
Holly.
I'm Holly Lasagna. I'm the Ward 1 City Councilor, and I have children who graduated from EL in 2008 and 2010.
And Sue.
Hi, Sue Mercier, graduated in 75. I have two boys that graduated, and I'm just a concerned citizen.
I think that's everybody.
All right, so we'll turn it on to Harriman.
All right, I will get my screen shared here and just bear with me when I get this up and going. So it says the host has disabled participant screen sharing. Is there any way to give me permission to share the screen?
There is. Let me see here.
Adam, there's an arrow next to share screen. When you click on share screen, there's an arrow to the right. You have to go up and say that other people can do it.
Okay. If I click on...
It's like, it is our hope come July, we will be meeting without the beautiful support of Zoom, but that we will actually be live.
Wow.
So click on share screen. Click on that, and you'll see an arrow to the right of share screen down below. And then
I don't see the arrow. I don't get an arrow.
there's like a little, you know where there's a little arrow next to stop video and your microphone? That's what you should see next to share screen.
Yeah, I don't have that though.
Do you have the green shield in the top left corner?
Yes.
Try clicking on that and see if that leads to sharing.
I don't. So I think, Lisa, can I just make you the host so that you can carry on?
Yes.
Because I am able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you're the host.
All right. So let's see. Are you seeing, it looks like you are seeing the opening slide that says June 16th, 2020, Building Committee Project Update?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. This looks like I just got notification someone's in the waiting room. Pam Albert. With that, no further ado, we will get started. So we want to give a project update on the Edward Little High School. And our project update today will build upon previous updates. So we're going to go over a permitting update, the site update, a design update.
Lisa, did you let Pam in?
Oh, that's right. I'm now the host.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have now. Hopefully Pam is with us.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie. I'm rusty on my hosting abilities. So we have a design update, a cost estimate update, a RFQ. So that's a request for qualification update on both commissioning agent as well as owner's representative. And we have a conversation on GC pre-qualification. So that's general contractor pre-qualification and next steps. So our permitting update will go over the planning board and the NRPA permit. And so the planning board, we have submitted to the planning board on June 5th, we submitted. You can see in the next steps, we have our planning board meeting on July 14th. We also, I realized that we inadvertently left this off, but there is a neighborhood meeting on the 23rd, I believe. And Katie or Mark, correct me if I am not recalling that date correctly, but where we will be hosting a meeting to connect with neighbors and answer any questions they have ahead of the July 14th meeting.
That's correct, the 23rd.
Thank you. And then NRPA permit application was
I'm sorry, Lisa, can you guys send an invite out for that just so we get it on our calendars? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. The NRPA permit was submitted in April, and as part of that, we had to do a memorandum, and that was approved. And now we have received a proposal for recordation. And what that means is, if you recall, through this process, it was determined that Edward Little was eligible for listing through the Maine Historic Preservation. And so therefore we have to record the building before we take it down. So we have the memorandum of agreement, which is what is needed to get the permit. So there's no longer anything holding up the permit process. We have what we need there, and the recordation just needs to happen before demo starts or demolition starts. So we have a proposal in hand. I think we just got it yesterday, and we're working with the Department of Education to get that process underway.
Can I ask a quick question on the recordation? Are there actual materials that are items from the actual site that we will be saving, regardless of what we have to just, video record?
Absolutely. So some of those features would be the statue, the bell tower, the granite sign, more site-related features than building.
Okay.
And so the building will be photo documented and will be recorded essentially so that it's noted in history that it existed in the type of architecture that it was.
Okay, thank you.
I think if anyone wants to save a piece of the building, we recommend they do that right after the recordation.
Yes. and let us know as soon as possible so we can make sure we note that it wants to be salvaged.
Are you implying we can have a free-for-all right after recordation?
Tim, I'm making a list.
Okay, just checking. I graduated there too. I got some pieces.
Making a list, buddy.
That's great. Geotechnical boring. So the site update is not a very big update. We're at the point in the process where you don't see much change, and that's a good thing. We're really just in the documents, producing the construction documents so that we're ready to go out to bid this fall. We had presented a few meetings ago that the building did have to be rotated due to some poor soil discovered through the design process. Some additional borings were completed. And so for those who are new to this presentation, the existing building is in the green outline here. Originally, the design for the building was where you see this blue outline, and we almost had to turn it almost 90 degrees over to where you're seeing the sort of tan color. And so additional borings were needed in this location. Those have been completed, and we do have the geotech report in hand at this time.
And while this site plan doesn't show it, we do now have a proposed location for the greenhouse.
We do, yes. And I apologize, we meant to send that out earlier, but the greenhouse is being relocated to right here. And I should have included a blow up of that so that Brandy could see. It's being relocated right here, and we've worked it out to where there is a pad for it to go on, and then it's handicap accessible access to the greenhouse, and are looking at the solar studies of any of the trees here and how to make sure that we don't have shadows on that greenhouse.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So design update. As you can see, there's not much change, and we kept some of these slides in here, both floor plans and renderings, to bring folks up to speed. We know we have some new members to the team, and want to make sure everyone is on the same page. The big milestone is the submission of the 85% construction documents, and so we submitted those last week, and so I think the team told me there's 449 drawings in that document set. So it's, as Dave Lewis said, it's a big school and it's a lot of drawings. So that was a pretty big undertaking, and we're happy to reach that milestone and are looking towards the next one. That said, this is the floor plan again for folks getting up to speed on the building. This is the main entrance here. Community entrance here, classroom wing is over here, and then student commons or cafeteria, library, courtyard. And we're calling this purple bar, as we refer to it, as the arts bar, with art rooms, the theater, music and band and chorus, and then the athletic bar is in the blue, so you have your auxiliary gym, your main gym, all the support spaces with lockers, health, and fitness. And then sort of the brighter green color is really the CTE, Career Technical Satellite Programs. And the model is an integrated model. So they're integrated throughout the school. The ones that are on the side here are those that need that, what we call high bay space. So they need a higher volume or higher ceiling than other programs. So they are in a spot where there is no second floor over top of them. This is the second floor. It's a 3-story building in some locations, and 2 stories in others. This is the second floor with with guidance and classrooms up top here, second story of the balcony of the theater, broadcast area, sort of satellite dining at the community stair, and then overlooking the courtyard here. And that third floor is in the classroom bar here with the design being implemented to accommodate future expansion on top of these areas on the third floor.
Can I ask a quick question about expansion?
Yeah.
Do we know roughly how many more classrooms we could put there on that expansion or space-wise in case we were to increase our population and need the room for more students?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact classroom number. It would depend on the program. If it's a typical classroom size of about 800 square feet, or if it's more CTE satellite programs, it would vary. But we can definitely run that calculation. I would say it's probably, let's see if I go back down to the second floor.
We're just generally looking to get an idea of how many students we can fit now versus how many before we need to build another wing and how much that would actually hold.
I would say about 12 more classrooms.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Wishful thinking, Tim.
The advantage is that it's an extremely economical way. You folks just did it at Park Ave School, and it just with everything, all the utilities already set up for it, and just to add on, and we'll design the structure to support that load. So.
Absolutely. The next series of slides are renderings kind of taking you through key areas within the building. And so this is what we call the town square. This is when we come right in the building, and it's really the communal spot. We have admin on one side, we have a career technical director on the other, and then you're really in sort of the public spaces of the building. So the student commons is in front of us. This sort of burnt orange color is the start of the cosmetology CTE program. And then we have the Culinary Arts Cafe. Both services are open to the public. And then the blue is the library. And then in the distance is the student commons where they would eat. And so this is just an image standing outside of the cosmetology space, the public entrance, and then visibility into the spaces so you can see learning on display. And then this is the learning commons. So really at the heart of the school, part of the connection between the inside-outside spaces, it's integrated into the courtyard as well as the student commons. And then the community stair is coming up the backside of this here. And so really nice sort of engagement with the space here. This is a view into the student commons area. So where students can gather to eat, or it's versatile as well. So you have the community stair here, projection area here. This doubles as a lecture space, presentation space, after hours meeting space. Really very, very flexible and versatile.
We are going to change those tables to round ones though, right?
Yeah, these are just placeholders, essentially. So the furniture that you see in the model isn't necessarily what you would receive. It's really a mix of, you can see round here. We have round high top tables here. We have more of kind of a booth style here, square here, I think round back here. So it's right now it's a hybrid of a little bit of everything to provide flexibility. Knowing right now you guys do have very long rectilinear tables that don't really promote collaboration or socialization as well as it could. So we tried to focus on a mix, knowing that some people may like round, some may like rectangular. The nice thing about these is they're smaller in scale, so it's not a long row of people sitting at a table. But they also have the flexibility to where you could pull these together and make a larger table if you wanted to have a variety of group learning in this space. And so this is just turning around in the space, looking back to where we entered, and using some wood tones to warm up different areas within the school, and starting to use color for some wayfinding, as well as natural light has been a big design element for wayfinding in the building overall. And more of the same space, really looking at the servery. And then the classroom nodes, so there's kind of a U shape, if you will, of classrooms, and at the elbow of each of those wings is a 21st century node, to where it provides a flexible learning environment to where you can break out of the classroom, or you can have small groups get together. And it is adjacent to assistant principal's office, as well as the faculty workroom. So there's assistance by faculty when needed, or observation of the students that are in these spaces. And then this is just looking in the opposite direction. And then we have the Performing Arts Center. And so this is one of many renderings of the Performing Arts Center, but a real focal piece as part of the community outreach through the process. And so really just providing a wonderful venue for all the events you guys do, as well as the desire to bring some events to the community. So that was the design overview or update.
Yeah, Brandy, I think had a question. Yep. Brandy.
Hi, Lisa. I was just wondering if we knew exactly when the greenhouse was going to be decommissioned. I know we have several classes that will run at the high school this fall that will be dependent on the greenhouse being operational in the spring. So I know the curriculum would have to be adjusted if the greenhouse wasn't able to be used the entire school year.
Yeah, right now your greenhouse is pretty much right where construction will begin. So I'm pretty confident that it will be out of commission in its current location come spring. It's something we can work with you, Brandy, offline to understand. Are there areas maybe it can be relocated to temporarily, but it's going to be relatively
we can problem solve it as a department, and we just needed to know beforehand so that we didn't set the curriculum for the school year.
For that, yeah, it will.
So we can tell, yeah.
Yeah, it will need to be relocated come spring.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, I am going to pass it over to Mark. Mark can take us through the cost estimate update.
Yeah, see how that works. Lisa gets to share the pretty pictures, and then I have to tell you how much it's going to cost. So,
I want to make sure your audio is working.
Add pretty pictures to your cost estimate.
There you go.
Right. So we've, as Lisa said, we've been working on the construction documents to getting to the 85%, and that's sort of not necessarily a set in stone. I mean, it's an arbitrary kind of level of development, but it helps us stay on track to get them to 100%. But at our 50% construction document set, when the documents were about half done, we went through and did an evaluation of the costs at that time. As you maybe remember, but if we add in all of the state-funded portions of the project plus the local component of the project, our project budget for construction is just under 100 million. It's 99.4, I think, and so that sort of is our target. We need to stay underneath that. and that's all the funding components built into it. And so what we've done is we've sent it out to cost estimator, and they've poured through it, and they've had lots of questions. So it took a little while to reconcile it back and forth, and we just got all the numbers back together. It was I think 2 days ago, maybe, that we started looking at it and receiving it all and compiling it yesterday. And right now we're about just a little over 2 million over our budget right now, which isn't sometimes that can seem fairly significant, but when we're on the scale of the project cost of around, or construction cost rather, of 100 million, it's something that we can we feel like it's doable. We can make the necessary changes without sacrificing too much to get us into the budget. And so the areas that really stood out in this cycle of update for the cost estimate had to do with general conditions, and that's the cost that the contractor charges to perform the general contractor charges to be there on site every day and staff the project and provide all the necessary resources to manage the project. And so that went higher than the previous estimate because there was sort of an evaluation of just how long it was taking and how much on-site staff would be needed through not just the 2 years that the school is built, but also the remaining months that the fields are being worked on. And so that was one area that we saw increase. The other area that we saw an increase, we got an estimate back on the hazardous materials in the existing building. So Tim, I know you're taking a piece of the existing building, but just make sure you take a clean piece of the existing building when you get it. But the hazardous material costs of the existing structure were significantly more than what we had budgeted. I want to say somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 more than what was originally anticipated for hazardous materials. And then lastly, the site, we saw some increases in electrical mechanical, but probably the biggest one was site, and that's one we're working on how to evaluate that to get it down within budget right now. And some of that is amenities in the courtyard, and we knew that we've got an amount of local funding for the courtyard, but we have to get a little tighter in terms of our design for that area to bring that cost in as well. And so we shared this with the Department of Ed this morning, and we'll continue to chase these items and arrive at a final estimate. And so that component is ongoing. The other important part that the Department of Ed also tasks us with is breaking out all those pieces of the construction that we said we were going to fund locally. And so many of them are related to the site and the stadium and some landscaping, but then there are also inside the building, mostly around the Performing Arts Center, but there were a few other spaces as well. So we've broken those out, and we are now again reconciling those local costs with what we said they were going to cost the building project. And so there's a lot of quantities that to sort through, and but we're in fairly good shape and feel confident in being able to reconcile these two as we move forward.
May I just ask a question? And I don't know if Tim can weigh on this. What's the best way? We have a city council meeting on Monday and then not one for a while. What's the best way to this out there from this meeting? Is it best to just say things are in flux? Or, I mean, I know they'll want to feel reassured. I just want to make sure that I'm, describing it correctly about where we are right now in terms of cost. So we're in pretty good shape. I trust that that's true.
Absolutely. That the 2% that we're over right now is we still have several contingencies built into so we have a design contingency that we still have built in, and we have an inflationary inflation contingency to when we go out to bid, and And so the inflation factor on the 3, I think we talked about bringing it down to 3% from now to when we go to bid in October, and that's enough to certainly cover that. Plus, as I said, there's another design contingency that we're holding because we're not done every detail in the building yet. So Holly, I think that the takeaway is that yes, we're in a good position at this time, and it's just a matter of sort of dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
And part of that review, Holly, is having just gotten the numbers yesterday. This is kind of the first blush of sort of what is there, and it takes us getting in and diving into the details to really reconcile some of it. Some of it, we find may not be, the right quantity, or things sometimes get double counted, or whatever the case may be. So it's still being massaged, but this is a general approximation of where we are. And to Mark's point, we still have contingencies to cover us. So, like he said, we're in a good spot, and just take some revisiting and retweaking of some areas.
Okay. I mean, I won't talk about specifics, or Tim, I mean, we could touch base if you want to, but just basically we're in good shape and you're sort of tweaking, and there is contingency money too.
I think it's also, I think, important, Tim, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we've only got 50% of estimates in right now.
Well, actually, we've got the full estimate, but you make an excellent point, Karen. The idea that we still have time to adjust the documents as we move forward too. So that's part of it, that we can identify areas that we can change the design slightly to affect change, or to affect savings to get us there. So, and again, it's a relatively minor amount when you consider the full size of the project.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can see how that's definitely misleading, Karen, where it says 50% CD estimate received. That's just the milestone of the documents. We've received all of the estimates.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And Lisa, I think if there aren't any other questions on that. So a couple updates on, we'll call them RFQs, the request for qualifications. One of them is present tonight, the owner's representative, David Lewis. And so, we're happy to be working with Mr. Lewis, who has many years of experience in school construction and knows to keep a good eye on us. And so, David, welcome, and we look forward to it.
Thank you. I'm currently working with Harriman on a couple of other projects, and the super quick version of me is I'm an architect. I've focused my career basically on public K through 12 projects on the construction administration owner's representative side, and going back all the way to Oxford Hills Comprehensive High School, which was one of the first, if not the first model in Maine with the integration of the technical programs with the academic programs, and looking forward to the next few years on this project.
Excellent. The other commission, or the other RFQ that was recently put out to bid was for a commissioning agent, and I think we've talked a little bit about that. But commissioning itself has expanded. It essentially is a process by which a third party comes in to evaluate how systems are both designed and installed to make sure that they're being optimized. And so sometimes it goes outside of the idea of what the system was designed to do, and that it's really about optimizing it. And so buildings and building systems have become increasingly complex, and there's a whole practice in what we call commissioning. And so systems to be commissioning, it largely built up around mechanical systems, and the controls of the mechanical systems has expanded to lighting systems, building envelope. I'm trying to think some of the other commissioning aspects, but it really evaluates, as I said, it's a third party to look at the design and then the execution of the design and sort of after the building is built, also fine tuning it for operation. We received 6 responses for this, and their names are there, so I think they're easy enough to decipher from this. But some of them are very well known for their commissioning services. There's a mix of local and national names or companies here. Most of them have addresses in the area, and so we'll going forward. What we're doing is developing a criteria to rate the different firms for a shortlist, and then from that interview those firms, and then there'll be a selection made. And so that is currently underway. It's a good time to get them on board as we're finishing up the document so they can review it. And it's nice now to have David Lewis on board to assist the district and Harriman in that process. And then the last item we just want to kind of talk about a little bit is the pre-qualifications for the general contractor. And part of the aspect of putting this out to bid is ensuring that we get a pool of contractors with the qualifications to undertake a project of this complexity and this scale. And so to that end, there's an advertisement put out to interested contractors to submit their qualifications for consideration. And then what happens is they'll send in the information and we'll evaluate it with respect to criteria that fits the project to determine if they are indeed qualified to undertake the work. And we anticipate that advertisement will be in August, and that's in advance of the October bid. And so it'll be the first sign that the project is getting ready to bid, and it'll create the buzz on the street, if you will. It's a large project, and so there are very few contractors that really have the bonding capacity to undertake a project like this. And so likely that it's already well known to many contractors of that size, and they know approximately when it's coming out. And so we expect that we'll start to see all those, that level of interest rise a little higher as we approach the pre-qualification process. So, and that follows the BREM is the Bureau of Real Estate Management. It's the new acronym for the Bureau of General Services of the state of Maine. And so we'll follow their guidelines as we move through the pre-qualification process. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Lisa to kind of guide us through where we are and our dates coming up here.
Thank you, Mark. So we are marching our way through that 21-step process for the DOE process that we started back in the fall of 2016. And we essentially this fall are working towards the State Board of Education design and funding approval. And that will happen September, October, this fall, and then we'll go out to bid right after that State Board approval. So the big picture, winter and spring of 2020, we're continuing to work on construction documents. It's really even through the summer into the fall. In the fall of 2020, we will wrap up permitting. It's a long process and it's underway. We'll go for State Board approval and we will take the project out to bid. The project will be awarded and construction will begin when the shovel hits the ground is really up to the contractor, but under contract, the contractor will most likely be under contract the end of this year or beginning of next year. And they can start getting everything ready to start their procurement process and get underway. Final funding approval will occur in the winter, right after the project is awarded. We'll go back and reconcile the finances with the state. And then building construction, the new building will be completed in 2023. So it'll be up for fall of 2023 operational. But part of the site will still, a good portion of the site will still be under construction. That's when the existing building will be abated and demolished, and the site work and the remaining areas will be completed. So fully complete building and site for fall of 2024.
So can I just ask one question? There's been a big discussion about parking and with student parking. So it looks like, would they still, well, that's even if they're going to school, but like if they're going back to school in the fall, will we have to deal with the parking situation not until the spring? Or are we going to have to deal with that in the fall as well?
I believe Scott has started to map out some plans for that. I don't know if you want to share your thoughts on that, Scott.
Yeah, so Billy and I actually just had a very, very recent conversation about this. And if to try to hit a balance here, particularly with so many of the unknowns for the fall, if there isn't going to be construction happening in the fall and the timeline really seems to kick off at the first of the year, I think we could provide student parking as is at this point in time. And then when we return from, the holiday break from December into January, that's when we would put a halt to it. And then we would have to be off-site parking. And Billy had said that he would continue to make sure that the parking at LESA was taken care of if we get some of those early snowstorms and make sure that that's up and ready for us at any point in time. But to me, I felt like, oh my gosh, if we're going to close off that parking and there's nothing happening over there, that doesn't feel really good. And then as we've continued the conversation of what really is the fall going to look like and how many variables are at play there, if we could keep that a little level of consistency for people, that may be a good thing for us. And it's a trade-off. Like originally we were going to have 0 for the year. And now if we can buy at least half the year, I think that's better than none at all. Because the biggest thing is going to be changing routines and behaviors for that and getting people accustomed. And so that's why I felt like if we can hit a mark of coming back from the holiday break from December into January, if we can pull that off, but at any point in time, if there is work that can begin sooner, I don't want us to be sitting around because we're dealing with parking. If it does happen, it does happen. And this has seemed to have been a kind of a fluid process. But we did seem to get some clarity that really most of that construction that we had thought was going to happen is actually going to be more into the January time. And so that's why I thought maybe we can buy ourselves some of that parking as is. I think we're still going to go ahead and add some of that parking to the front of the building, which I think will be important as we continue with our COVID-19 protocols anyway, as we've been doing the one entrance in and out anyway. So that's still a benefit for us.
So will the seniors be able to do like the traditional, paint their spots and
that's what it's all about. So what that
I know. Well, that I've been asking people have been asking me about that. So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a board decision. No, that will allow us to be able to
let them paint it. Then let them paint them.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. So as I said, because of that will at least get us off to start the year, and they could select them, but no, at some point in time, that's going to transition over to staff parking. But yes, then we could keep that going to start the school year.
Okay. And Scott, I'm sure you'll work with your student council to absolutely let them know, go ahead, start painting or hold off, right?
Oh, that's always like the burning question, because we got to get the parking lot cleaned out. It really needs to be cleaned and then restriped. Yeah. And then usually that happens at the beginning of August, and we tend to get the word out. but have no fear. They are already out there claiming them.
No, I have no doubt they will be out there.
Serve.
Yeah. Oh, they've been thinking about these spots since freshman year.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for bringing that up, though, Pam. I know kiddos are really hounding all of us who might know an answer or might have an answer. So go ahead, Pam.
It's definitely not a board decision, but because of it, they kind of ask us.
No, those are important to the kiddos, and we absolutely have been thinking about it. And so I think Billy and I had a really good conversation about that last week.
Good, because we're deferring to you every time we're asked, just so you know.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. All right.
That has all the answers. So the next steps, sorry, I got things falling in my office here. The next steps in the process, and I realize my edits didn't save the building committee. We're obviously meeting tonight, so that's not the proposed next meeting date. I was going to propose July 28th for the next building committee. And the reason being is we meet with the DOE next July 23rd, and we typically follow our meetings with them. We met with the Department of Education this morning and brought them up to date on where the project is as well. And so that's our typical process in the past is inform them as to what is happening and then provide the same update to the building committee. So that being said, our proposed date for the building committee would be Tuesday, July 28th. Not sure if that works for everybody on the call, and if it does, we can work with Adam to get that posted.
I think so. Adam, I think you had sent out an invite for July 14th, 15th, 16th, somewhere around there. But the proposed change of date seems to make sense.
Are we aiming for a Zoom or an in-person?
Oh, in person.
Yay.
Karen, I think what I sent out that you're referring to was the planning board meeting on July 14th.
Oh, okay. So seeing no issue, if no one has an issue, then July 28th would be the next proposed building committee meeting then.
Excellent.
Okay.
So Adam, we can work with you to get that issued. It sounds like it's going to be an in-person meeting, so it doesn't sound like we need a Zoom call. Is that a fair statement?
At this point, with what we know right now in this moment,
it could all change.
I'm going to put my
hour.
I'm going to put my asterisks up there, and I'm going to put subject to change.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will get that on the calendar for the 28th, and then our next DOE meeting is on the 23rd, which is Thursday. And then we've been working closely with many folks on the design of safety and security on the building. We have one last meeting that we want to pull together to circle back on that conversation with the SRO officer, as well as the district's safety and security consultant and police and fire. And so tentatively, we're aiming for next week to have that follow-up meeting. And then looking at 100% construction documents, September 3rd, we finalized some of the dates with the DOE on the state board meeting. And so it looks like the state board will be actually middle of October. The construction committee is the 25th. And originally we had thought the schedule was showing the state board meeting on the 25th. So that's been adjusted, and that puts us at a tentative bid date of about October 20th, 2020. So that takes us right up to opening bids and awarding towards the end of the year, beginning of the next calendar year. And with that, we just want to say a special thank you to Katie Grondin for all of your hard work through this momentous project and effort to really help with many others shepherd this project to where it is, and want to just thank you for all of your time and energy and support through this project, and look forward to hearing about your many successes and your new endeavor, and look forward to seeing you at the ribbon cutting in 2023.
Katie, you don't have to wait for a ribbon cutting. We'll get you a hard hat and take you through while it's being constructed too.
Excellent. Even better.
Absolutely. Scott and I, he'll keep me up to date on what's happening so I can see what it looks like.
Perfect.
Excited to see it come to life.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that's all we have. If there are any questions, we're here to address any additional questions folks have.
I did let Mark know that I would like to have everyone stay on when we go offline, because I need to talk about a naming right that's come forward, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page regarding the option that we have talked to a person about, and probably some of the next steps, but I don't think it's appropriate to be public right now because we're still working through the details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So with that being said, any other questions for Mark or Lisa right now at this point? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I think seeing none or hearing none, I would like to thank you both very much for this update and taking the time to meet with us tonight. And we are, I know for myself, I always get excited to hear steps moving forward with this project. So thank you both so very much for your update this evening.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And so at this point, I'm going to conclude the building committee meeting and wait for confirmation that we are no longer being recorded.